Well, what is up and what's going on, my fellow fart knockers and dillweeds? It is yet another episode of the Gen X Locker with me, Ant Master 5. Somewhere 8 feet underground at the base of the Catskill Mountains. When Cameron was in Egypt's land, let my Cameron go. Yeah, kind of my shtick. I'm gonna throw in a random movie line every episode. So you might notice some changes, a little different lighting, and this. I got two turntables and a microphone. Actually, I only have one turntable, and it's over there. But this is my microphone. This is my new microphone. I don't know if it's gonna pick up the cowbell, so we'll figure that out later. I tapped it. Did anybody hear it? I don't know. That will come to play in editing, but we don't edit here at the Gen X Locker. But yes, welcome to episode 3 of the Gen X Locker. And what are we going to be talking to me about? Because I said we don't edit. And what are we going to be talking about tonight, kids? Well, there's the Maitlands. They've had enough exercise for the evening. Latchkey kids. Say it with me. Latchkey kids. Now, as I've said before here on the Gen X Locker, Gen X is the demographic cohort born between the years or starting with the years 1965 to 1980. I am smack in the middle in 1975. That's the best. That's my best radio voice coming at you from 19 at the top of the charts in 1975. We have Elton John and Kiki. No, was it Elton John and Kiki D with "Don't Go Breaking My Heart"? Crap, shit. I forgot what I think the number one song when I was born was Bohemian Rhapsody. These are all things I should have did before I cracked the mic. But anyway, so as I have said, as I have so eloquently put, I'm born in 1975, in the spring of 1975, on a rainy Tuesday in 1975. It was actually pretty funny because do you really want to hear it? No. Well, my mom actually went for an ultrasound, and they were like, yeah, this thing is big and we got to get it out. And 10 pounds 9 ounces later, hello, I didn't put the pop filter on here. Jesus. Pop goes the weasel and draws drop. And so speaking of me, I was only a latchkey kid for a little bit, and let us discuss. Let's talk about what a latchkey kid was. So a latchkey kid, by definition, now I know what a latchkey kid is, but just for shits and giggles, let's consult the Google machine. So what Wikipedia says, I thought this was great. I don't have my readers on. I'm just gonna hold my. Well, can you hold my phone across the street? A latchkey kid is a child who returns to an empty home after school or other activities. A child who is often left at home with no supervision because their parents are away at work. Such as child can be any age, alone or with siblings, are also under the age of maturity for their community. So under the age of maturity for the community. Okay, so now if you ever been to the Wikipedia, it also does the see also. So when you click the see also on Latchkey Kids, I thought this was fucking great. You can click the following links for Wikipedia articles, which to them coincide with Latchkey Kids. Children's street culture. Do you know where your children are? That's, oh my God, that's Gen X. Free range parenting. I'm not even going to click that one. And the last one, I'll just say they actually put a link for the movie Home Alone. So for anybody that's seen Home Alone, Kevin is not a latchkey kid. He got left home alone because the power went out and the phones didn't work and the alarm clock went, kaput, and they left his ass in the attic. That's really not, that doesn't, in my opinion, that's not the definition of a latchkey kid. I mean, if you look at the movie, did he do the things that a latchkey kid does? He watched TV, he ate junk, he went, I didn't go shopping. Kevin went shopping. He got the eggs, milk, and fabric softener. Why didn't you buy detergent, you little bastard? Anyway, so the latchkey kid was basically the kid that came home from school because both their parents were at work. So it's pretty cool how I went to school, like the years that I went to school. I don't lie about my age. I'm 49. So I started kindergarten in 1980. So basically, every year, like the last digit, every year that I start a new grade is the grade I'm going into. So, for instance, September of 1982, I started the second grade. September of 1985, I started the fifth grade. I may do the pop filter, but not right now, but maybe for episode 4. Um, so, with that being said, from 1980 to 1985, 86 at the tail end of the fifth grade, I really wasn't a latchkey kid. I went to an elementary school that was, uh, I mean, look, Stephen Wright said, anything is in walking distance if you have the time. I don't want to say my school was in like walking distance. I mean, it was in walking distance, my elementary school, but it was going to take a long fucking time to walk there. I lived in it's funny because it's like, why are there hills on Long Island? I lived in a very hilly suburban neighborhood, and then it was like my school was like into the valley. So if I did walk home, it was all uphill, both ways, in the snow with no shoes. But I digress. So my mother took me to school like clockwork every morning, and my elementary school, if anybody, any of the subscribers out there that went to elementary school with me on Long Island, they can't remember the hours. I mean, I know we started at 9 o'clock, but I think 9 o'clock. That was a reference from One Crazy Summer. That was Bobcat Goldthwait that did that, dressed up in the Godzilla suit. 9 o'clock. Uh, what was I saying? Oh, I believe we got out at 3:30. I'm almost positive. No, I am positive. It was 3:30. It's middle school and high school that I'm like wrestling with when the hell that ended. When did school end for the day? High school, especially because like we all like after you like got out of like your freshman year, and everybody got. I always remember that everybody got out of high school at a different fucking time. This one got out at I only have gym today. How do you do that? Like senior year, I remember like kids being like, "Oh, I just have gym and global studies." Really? I'm here for 9 fucking periods and like 2 after school programs because I'm a nerd. Anyway. Oh, hey, shout out right here to my buddy Eddie at the Realms of Metal. I'm bumping into my guitar, but check him out. I'll link him down. Realms of Metal, amazing, amazing content, all about everything and everything heavy metal. And I'm talking deep. He goes deep. Bands that I have to Google, but check him out. And he's got merch. One day I will do merch, but I digress for the second time. So, with that being said, so from the years 1980 to 1985, got out of school at 3:30 p.m. For the military brats, 15:30 hours. And my mother would pick me up. I mean, it was a thing, my mom wasn't the type of parent where, she wanted like, you're not going to go home with anybody else. Not that I'm not, I don't mean that in stranger danger, but hey, could Eric's mom take? No, I gotta have to call her and I'm gonna have to talk to her. It was like, my mom had to go through a whole due process if anybody else picked me up besides her or my grandmother. So the I'm gonna say the routine. That's the word I'm looking for. The routine for me, from basically kindergarten to the fifth grade, was mom would pick me up at 3:30. I'd walk down a little hill, get into her Monte Carlo. Started out with the Malibu, then the Monte Carlo, and then one of these things would happen. Either my mother would bring me home, and basically her and I would come home to an empty house. Remember, I have a brother that's 10 years older than me, a sister that's 9 years older than me. So even at 7 years old, 116, 117, they're doing their own thing. So they were just never friggin' home. But anyway. And my mom would do one of several things here. If she took me home, she would wait for my grandmother to get there, and then she would leave. Or she would stop at home because she had to go to the bathroom. And then we'd immediately head out to Queens to either my grandmother's house or my parents' pizzeria, which honestly were about, I think my parents' pizzeria in relation to my mom's mom, I think was like 5 or 6 blocks. I mean, that was definitely walking distance. You went down 264th Street to Union Turnpike. And grandma would either pick me up at the pizzeria or my mom would take me to my grandmother's house. But one of those, things would happen on the list. Needless to say, it always ended with my grandma would basically watch me for the rest of the evening until my parents came home at like, I don't know, fucking like 1 a.m. So after fifth grade, so now I'm like, 10, 11 years old, and sixth grade is starting. So this is where I turn into a latchkey kid. So sixth grade starts in September of 1986. And at this point, my parents have sold their pizzeria in Queens. And they actually had two pizzerias. They had one in Glen Oaks and they had one in Queens Village, not far from Hollis, Run DMC. Hello. So we're from Hollis Street. So the other pizzeria, I believe we just nicknamed it Big John's too. My dad would always hang out there and help that pizza man out. Like my dad like could not be inert, even though like his primary pizzeria was sold. He still had, actually both of them were sold, is my point. So he would always have to go to the second one and hang out with that guy and make pizza and just be active, because my dad was not the type of person to sit around and watch TV and read the funnies or anything like that. My mother at this time, she got a job at a I love that. You want to talk about a Gen X thing. My mom got a job typing microfilm. I'll give everybody a second to Google that. So if you've been to the library back in the day, especially in the 80s, you were doing a research paper and you had to look up a news article on microfilm. All of the newspapers were on microfilm. So my mom, this company that she worked for, she actually typed the jackets, if you will. So when you went to select, said microfilm reel or fiche, that was the other one. There was one called microfilm fiche. It was like it was just like just one film, like a slide. You put it in the machine and you basically moved it all around and you looked at specific article. Then the reel was literally like a reel to reel, and you would just zim 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 zim, and then your head would be in this machine. And I'll put some thumbnails up maybe if I could figure out how to do that. Oh look, there's one now. So my mom typed what they called the jackets. So when you took out the fiche or the reel, it said, Daily News, March 3rd, 1932. She typed the titles on each of the one. Talk about a mundane job. I mean, my mom could have definitely turned into the living embodiment of Peter Gibbons from like Office Space. Talk about TPS reports. So that's what my mom did. So my dad was doing his thing. My mother was doing her thing. My brother and my sister were doing whatever the hell they were doing. So this was the cool part. Middle school was another school that kind of wasn't in walking distance. It was a few towns over. And for the first time ever, I got a school bus. I didn't get one personally, like I didn't own one, but a school bus came and picked me up at the bus stop with several other kids. And, we went off to middle school. So my mom basically was now out of the loop. Okay, good. I don't have to take you to school because I got to get to work. Okay. So I'd go to school on the bus, come home on the bus. And I do remember my mom's hours were banker hours. It was 9 to 5. So, by the time she got out of work and then, had to go to, I'm just going to name Gen X-esque supermarkets that are either in business, no longer in business, or definitely Long Island-esque. She either had to go to Wallbounds, Food Town, or Pathmark because she had to go shopping. And by the time she got home, it wasn't late at night, but I got to start dinner and the whole nine. So there was, a good several hours there that I was left unsupervised. So I take the bus home, and I had my house key. My mom, dude, kids, hear me out. I wore jeans a lot in middle school, especially middle school. I I wasn't a sweatpant kid. Cargo shorts really weren't a thing in like the late 80s yet, but I had pockets. I had pockets. My mother insisted. I don't know where she got, because so many kids did it. So I don't know where my mom got the idea, because like I saw it on the Wikipedia that I had to wear my house key around my neck under my friggin' shirt. This was gospel. There was no way out of that. So I did. I even looked the part of the typical latchkey kid. So there I was, and I had my house key, and we only had a key to the back door. That was it. We never used our front door on Long Island. I don't know why. Like the front door was for company. You never used the front door. That was for company. Food deliveries, pizza, Chinese, or the piano teacher coming to the house. But other than that, no, nobody used the front door. Nobody. And if a package came, so I had a key to the back door, and it was around my neck in like it wasn't even a chain. It was like fucking Butch's twine. I'm cracking myself up over this. Yeah, it was like a rope, and I had my fucking key in my t-shirt, and I'd get off the bus. And like I said, I want to say middle school ended at, I'm gonna say that last period was 2:30. So my mom was already knee deep in work. I mean, she still had a couple of hours before she was gonna punch out. So, the bell would ring at 2:30, you'd get on the bus, and you'd get home by probably right around the 3 p.m. mark, maybe a little before, because the bus had, several stops in your specific route. And so I'd come home and, go, walk from the corner where the bus left me off, down the block to my house, down the long driveway. We had like a fence, like a gated fence, if you will. And, went into the back fence, into the gate, and then up the back stoop, and then reach into my shirt, pull out my key, and I'm home. So here's where it begins for the latchkey kids. I was home alone. Like I said, dad's working, mom's working. My brother and sister are, I think, working because they were already out of high school at that point. So what do you do? What does every latchkey kid do? Now, you're supposed to do your homework. You're on paper. You're supposed to immediately crack the books and start doing your homework. Did I? Probably not. No. So you immediately put on TV, and there still was like the precursor to any kind of trashy TV there was now. I can't remember like what time like Phil Donahue came on and stuff like that. I think they were more morning shows, but there was a few talk shows on. I remember, and we had, we were bougie. We had cable, so it wasn't just, once upon a time it was. Let me see if I can get this right. It was 2, 4, the channels 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. I got 13 channels of shit on the TV to choose from, but it wasn't. We had cable, and MTV was 29, and VH1 was 28, and HBO was number 3. No, HBO was 6. Sports Channel was 3. Nickelodeon was 22. Why do I remember these things? If you lived on Long Island, we had that brown box with a big, long, friggin' ass brown wire, and it just went to the TV, and you had to select it. There was a selector to go to the other channel, like the higher channels. And then if you mashed, like 39 and 40 together and put the selector kind of in the middle, and if it was after midnight, bam, chicka, pow, down, chicka, yeah, every once in a while you'd be able to get something spicy. So, I admit I was a TV buff. I wanted to watch TV, and after school cartoons, GI Joe was definitely one, and He-Man was definitely one, and Thundercats was definitely one. So maybe a bit of a Mandela effect here, where I'm getting confused with what I watched on Saturday mornings and what I watched after school. But one of whichever one of the ones I've mentioned are definitely in what I watched after school. So that was it. I would usually put on TV. I probably would totally blow off my homework. And then what does every other latchkey kid in the free world do? They look for something to eat. And as you can see, I didn't miss a lot of snacks, but my mom had a thing: you can't use the stove. I think that was a pretty common practice with most latchkey kids across the country. You weren't allowed to use the stove, but you could use the microwave. So the after school snack became the microwave popcorn, or you could use the toaster. So you had Pop Tarts. Something we didn't have, and it was so funny. Last night at work, I actually had a post it note stuck to my computer for most of the night that said, and I quote, no Hot Pockets. And people are probably looking at, what the hell? Why do you have a post it note on your computer that says no Hot Pockets? It's for my show. It's for my show prep. Because I looked it up on, like, Hot Pockets, like, were invented in somewhere in the 80s, but I don't remember them until no, until I was well into my late teens. In fact, I don't remember Hot Pockets until I was out of high school. Like, that was a college snack. So I don't care. You can challenge me. As far as I'm concerned, Ixnay on the Hot Pocket A. There were no Hot Pockets. At least there weren't any on Long Island. I did anybody remember Hot Pockets on the island? 1987? No, I don't. But there was toast, and bread was the main ingredient to toast. So 2 slices of bread, slap them in a toaster. Ching. There's a horrible sound effect. And then, you'd slather it up with peanut butter and jelly. I can't eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on raw bread. Bread's raw. It's got to be cooked bread. Cooked. It's got to be toast. But then I got to let the toast come to room temperature, because if you start spreading peanut butter on hot toast, the peanut butter gets all soggy and it's dripping everywhere. And it's just a mess. And you know what happens when a dog licks peanut butter off the floor. So I usually did that. It was usually a peanut butter and jelly. I usually would whip up some tuna, anything that was quick. And my mother, I will give my mom credit where it's due. My mom would every once in a while, there's a bowl of tuna in the fridge, and make sure you cover it. So it was in the obligatory Tupperware that my mom got from a Tupperware party. And sure enough, sometimes she would put a note on it: tuna, after school tuna, as opposed to any other tuna. And my tuna was very specific. It was tuna and mayonnaise. Now I'll pause so you can write down that very intricate recipe. Oh, let me give it to you again. You got a pen? It's tuna, a can of tuna, and mayonnaise, like a tablespoon of mayonnaise. It's going to take a while. It's a lot of ingredients. I'm sorry. I'll put a link, maybe, to, I'll definitely write it out specifically. So it's tuna, mayonnaise. I hate onions in my tuna. I loathe celery. I can't stand celery. See what celery even does to my speech? I hate celery. I can't stand it. It's just, celery and cilantro are abominations of the vegetable and herb world, and they represent all that is soulless and wrong to me. Yet I don't mind celery in soup, but I'm not going to eat it. But, like, if it's like floating in the soup water, broth, I'll eat it. But I wasn't putting it in my tuna. I will say, my friggin' sister would make tuna salad, whatever you kids want to call it. And she should, mayonnaise, and then she would put breadcrumb in it, and then she would put shredded carrots in it. I was like, what the hell is this? And then she put, big, I mean, I'm talking pieces of onion the size of this water bottle. And then, pieces of celery. And then I'm going to take a drink, and then I'm going to tell you the grand finale. Raisins. My sister put raisins in a tuna. Now, I'm sorry, but This was the height of the Cold War. If any Soviets got wind that an American put raisins in their tuna, they might have recruited them for espionage because they said that they could probably say to themselves, well, you could be strayed very easily and we can manipulate your mind because any person that puts raisins in tuna is weak minded and we need all your government secrets now. Raisins don't go in tuna and raisins don't go in my tuna. So back to what I was saying. Scoop of tuna, mayo, little salt and pepper to taste, throw it on some bread. And I'd sit in front of the TV watching G.I. Joe, watching the Thundercats, watching the Thundercats, eating my sandwich. Now, there's also other snacky devices, usually of the sweet nature. I mean, come on, yeah, every latchkey kid had a sweet and a savory thing that they were going to go for. I knew a girl in high school who will remain nameless. Let me rephrase that. I knew of a girl in high school that then I knew after I graduated that would come home from school, a latchkey kid with her brother, and they were like a year apart. I think so. She was a senior, he was a junior. And they would, like every other latchkey kid, would start opening up cabinets looking for, snacks and whatnot, to excuse me, to basically appease the hunger gods. And they did something I'll never forget. She would take a can of frosting out of the pantry and she'd be like, cool, there's frosting. And she'd sit down on the couch and like watch Ricky Lake or something and put a spoon in it and start eating frosting. And then say to her brother, there's frosting. And then he would get a spoon and he would take a big glob of the frosting and he would sit on the other chair and just sit. And I'm like, is there cake? Like, what are you kids doing? Now, I don't condone this behavior. I will say that there was something similar that we did. And now that I think about it, the latchkey kids just might have come up with something revolutionary that we see everywhere today. Cookie dough ice cream. Wait for it. So many of these latchkey kids from Bangor, Maine, all the way to San Jose, California, down to Tampa, Florida, and all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska, were not allowed to use their ovens. It was just, oh, Jesus. Sorry. It was just a thing. You weren't allowed to use your oven. Some parents let you use the oven. My parents did not, but my mom, the oven was sacred ground. You can't use the oven. So now there was that tube of Nestle, Toll House, whatever other company. I almost said Maxwell House. Yeah, coffee cookies. And there was that tube, that plump, cold tube of cookie dough sitting in your fridge. Well, not allowed to use the oven. I don't know what these are going to turn out like in the microwave. So, slit. Hey, this ain't half bad. You want to try this? You want to get down on this? Anybody? So suddenly, the latchkey kids started eating raw cookie dough. I don't know. I mean, come on, do the math here. Do you remember seeing cookie dough ice cream like in the late 70s, early 80s, even mid 80s? I don't remember seeing that. I don't remember seeing that until Gen Xers got a little older. And maybe a Gen Xer said, hey, you know something? I got an idea. That's raw cookie dough, Steve. Yeah. Give me that vanilla ice cream. I'm just going to throw some wads of this in there and mix it up and refreeze it. I think we have a winner. It's very well possible. Raw cookie dough was definitely a sweet snack go-to of mine. Now, in my home, I come from an old school Italian family. My dad's an Italian immigrant. There was always fruit. There was fruit everywhere. Like you could not walk 3 feet in my house without bumping into some type of bowl of fruit. There was always a bowl of apples and bananas. There was grapes in the refrigerator, but then there was also grapes in a bowl with moist paper towel over them on the counter. There was dried apricots. There was dried figs everywhere, everywhere. They were on the windowsill, and they were being made, and then they were also store bought in that waxy cellophane packaging that I can literally hear in my head. It's like one of those AMSMR, LMSMFT, OBGYN things. I can hear the cellophane. There was fruit everywhere. There was fruit everywhere in my house, but I probably should have eaten more fruit. We weren't big soda drinkers in my house. In fact, my mom never bought soda. So it was always water and or iced tea. And we had like an iced tea mix in the fridge. So those were the staple drinks. But other than that, it was pretty typical. It was a pretty typical latchkey kid experience. Come home from school, unlock the door, close it, make sure you lock the door. Don't open the door for anybody. I could hear my mother. Don't open the door for anybody. Don't open the door for anybody. And I was like, oh, okay, Jesus Christ, Mom. It's like Aunt Barbara came to the door, and I told her I can't open. Your mother told me to drop off these shoes. Well, you're gonna have to leave them on the front fucking step because I'm not allowed to open up the door. I know I could see you through the window, but nope, can't do it. But it was typical. There was really no, there wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary for me being a latchkey kid. There wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. It was come home, lock the door, have a snack, watch TV, maybe do your homework, and then wait for my mom to get home. I wasn't afraid of anybody, coming to the door and, the white van showing up outside with, free candy scrolled to the side, on the side. Um, I think I pretty much had the typical, latchkey kid experience that most kids had. I do, however, remember not going out to play unless there was a parental figure home. I do remember that. Like that was a common thing. Like, and in summertime it was different. It was like I was out on my bicycle, and that's when I'm thinking about what they said in Wikipedia. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? I was definitely in the house way before 10 p.m. Yeah, no, my mom wasn't pulling that. Like another thing I hear about Gen X, oh, you went in when the street lights went on. Yeah, that was kind of it. And the street lights would probably be burning a lot longer after 10 o'clock. So that whole, or excuse me, for many hours coming up to 10 o'clock, so I don't know about the whole, it's 10 p.m. Yeah, my mother knew where I was. I was probably in my room playing Nintendo or playing guitar, but I was definitely in the house at 10 p.m. Or I was at my grandmother's. But there was none of that shit that he was outside, doing who knows what with who knows who. And, you know, next thing you know, I'm behind the Grand Union and I'm trying to make meth. Could happen. So if anybody else was a latchkey kid, drop a comment. What was your latchkey kid experience like? You know, did you have, siblings that you came home with? I knew, friends that had that, they came home with brothers and sisters, and then it was a little bit of like a pandemonium thing. Me, I was basically on my own. I came into an empty house, did my thing, and really just, walked to the beat of my own drum. I could care less about anything. And my parents were pretty cool. They were pretty laid back. I had carte blanche. Watch whatever the hell I wanted on TV. HBO. I think we had Cinemax back then. Maybe that was rated R. So yeah, okay. There is that one scene in the original Terminator. Speaking of nobody's looking. So, and then by the time high school came along, I don't know. It was things were a little different. Once you started driving, you really, you weren't a latchkey kid no more. By the time I got into my, later junior year of high school and into my senior year, you left high school. All of my friends piled in my car. We went to McDonald's, we hung out, and there was really no more coming home to an empty house at that point. At that point, I was actually living up here and we lived on top of our restaurant. So we didn't really have the whole, I don't know what to call it, the whole, nuclear family experience. But I was definitely a latchkey kid. And I guess I could say I celebrated it for, maybe a good 3 or 4 years. I would say I would definitely say from 6th grade to probably ninth grade. So yeah, a good 4 years. And I had no problem with it. I don't feel that I was neglected in any way. I don't resent my parents for it. They had to work, and I'm definitely a product of that. We were a working family. So, and I see it a lot today. There are plenty of kids that, come home and, probably do the same thing. And if you guys have kids, are your kids latchkey kids? Are you working a job? Is your spouse working a job? Are you kids, somewhere? Are they tweens, preteen, somewhere in that, age range where you can leave them home alone? They can come home from school meaning alone. And what do they do? Did they burn your house down? Inquiring minds want to know. What was their snack of choice? What was your snack of choice? So, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, please drop a comment, drop a like, drop a follow, drop a subscribe. That's a lot of drops. There's droppings everywhere. Somebody want to clean up these droppings? You can always email us right here at the Gen X Locker, all one word, all lower cases, at outlook.com. And what else? What else? What else? What else? I don't know. What would you like to see for the next episode? I got a couple of ideas brewing. Smell it. It's always actually, I have a lot of incense burning down here, and it literally looks like that scene when they were in the basement, the '70s show with the haze. But please, if you have any suggestions, either email me, hit me up in the comments, because this is what we do here at the Gen X Locker. We reminisce about being Gen X. So until next time, kids, I bid you adieu. Adieu. Right. But keep it here, keep it tuned, and we will see you soon.